All right, a Collision episode. Before we get started, if you can hear me correctly, because I do believe you can't hear me, I believe I found what the issue has been. This. As I've told you, I have a very small setup. I mean, it's not like I got huge amounts of money to get like a great equipment to be able to do these type of videos. Look, I'm disabled. I don't have much money. I have a Canon N6 Mark I and I have a Zoom H1N. And I use this to connect them both. Now, I do remember 3 years ago, I had a problem similar to this and I had totally forgotten about it. So if the sound is perfectly fine, then it was this. It wore out. Throw that sucker away when I'm finished filming. And I'm sure you're going to say, well, I'm surprised you didn't remember. Well, I don't remember and understand when I finish filming, I disassemble my camera work. I mean, not camera work, but my camera setup. I mean, my M6 gets put away, my Zoom H1N gets put away, and the cable gets unplugged and put away, the aux cable. So I've done work with this camera. Oh my goodness. I've done over 1,000 at this point, nearly 1,000 videos or more with this camera. And the old aux cable, I think I did maybe 500 or 600 videos with it. I should have realized it was going to wear out. So if this is the issue, I've corrected it. I changed the cable, and I also got a backup cable. So when this one finally goes out and you tell me, I can swap it. So that's going to be the deal. But let's get to the meat and potatoes of this. I know I've almost gone 2 minutes. I had to explain. Well, I don't even want to say that this is a Powerhouse Hobbs push, because we still don't know really the full scope of this, unless it is what it looks like. If there is no Shane McMahon showing up, and there's literally no way Adam Copeland's going to be faking what he's doing and then turn heel, this is what we got. And all they have is Powerhouse Hobbs looking like a beast. Now, I'll explain that in a minute. But this is it. And I'm wondering, is this a real push or not? Because I don't know if it is. It could be a push that even if he loses, and I know I could say this at the end, but I'm saying this now, even if he loses, they could build him to be more important in the company. But it's still a big question. And I'll probably elaborate a little bit more when I talk about the match. First match, Big Bill versus the Cope. I don't know why he went to the Cope. I know he can't use the name Edge. He just can't. And hearing people call him the Rated R Superstar, they could probably abbreviate it. The RRS. Maybe. Something. But I don't know. The Cope really rolls off the tongue. That's the best they can do. They just can't use Edge. So the match was fine. Big Bill did a decent job. And I'm not surprised how it ended. Come on, let's make it clear. You know how it's going to end. You know that the fight was going to happen. You know that Adam was going to win, which he had to win because he's still dealing with Mox. The question is, did you care about it? To me personally, it was okay, but it wasn't great. Second match, Pac versus Commander. No title on the line. There is no ROH TV title on the line, which I'm fine with. I didn't want him to be stuck with something in ROH. And he won. But I'm going to tell you this as someone who really likes Pac, who loves Pac, who knows the boy is good. Here's the problem. They've done nothing with him. Yes, he has been the All-Atlantic inaugural champion. He has been also an international champion. And he has now been, 3 times trios champion? But what has he done? Yes, he's in this storyline with the Death Riders. But tell me something. Doesn't he job more than he wins? Doesn't he job more than he wins? Tell me if he jobs more than he wins. And that's like, what the blue fuck? And the thing that makes me very confused, out of all this, no one's really addressed this. Compared to Claudio, compared to Wheeler Yuta, compared to Moxley, why is he always in his ring trunks? When is he ever going to be without his ring attire? Now you're going to say, well, dude, he's a badass. He don't need it. But I think he does. Sometimes he needs to be coming in regular clothes unless he looks like a goof in his clothes. He needs them. And I'm like, we want to make Pac mean something. Just being dressed in his ring attire all the time is not enough. He needs better. He deserves better. He did the first match on AEW. Remember, if I remember correctly, one of the first matches, not the first match, I think it was, with Kenny Omega. I think the first inaugural match that was on, that was, no, I think it was. You could tell me below if you remember correctly. If it wasn't the first match on AEW, it's one of the first matches of that night. That Pac went up against Kenny Omega and beat him. And look where he is now. You would think they would do something more with him. Give him the TNT title. Let him at least run in the world title picture. I mean, we got the Outrunners coming out. We got the Death Riders coming out. But it was like, they deserve better. Now, the next match is with the Death Riders versus the Outrunners. I gotta say this when it comes to the Outrunners with Turbo Floyd and his partner. I mean, when you see them, they are such a throwback. You just go, huh? But then you go, okay, I don't mind them. They're funny. And seeing them do the Predator move, you son of a bitch. It's like they decided they incorporated just a scene from Predator between Carl Weathers and Arnold Schwarzenegger just saying, you son of a bitch. And then seeing who can arm wrestle the other. Before later, you see Carl Weathers get his arm taken off by Predator and getting shot up and going, ja! I'm a movie buff. I may not be the best, but I'm a decent movie buff. Let's make this very clear. The Outrunners were not meant to win. They are popular, but there's no way they're going to beat the Death Riders, which with Claudio and Wheeler Yuta, they cheated and they won. Not surprised. Next. Let me give it to you like this. Harley Cameron versus Mariah May. Harley Cameron does have ring ability. Not a great one, but it's okay. She can talk. It could be I think that some people will think her talking is annoying, but it's not that bad. And then you look at two of the major assets she has, and I mean, yes, I know she can talk. Yes, she can actually sing. She's physically a very beautiful woman. Great pair of tits, let's be honest. But the question's going to be, will AEW do something with her? Yes, she had a non-title match with Mariah May, but what does this really give Harley Cameron, who used to work with Saraya, where we don't even see her? Where is Saraya? Is she on ROH right now? If she's on ROH, unless she's doing some type of project and she's asked AEW to give her time so she could do it, I'm like, I want to write her off. And I'm not even against Saraya. I'm not. She came in like gangbusters. People really thought when she was there, she was going to make a huge splash in the women's division. She did not, because of one person, and that was Tony not pushing her the way she should have been. She really hasn't done much. And the only thing that she's accomplished was, of course, Toni Storm. Yes, she helped to develop Toni Storm, who became timeless, which is my tasteless Toni Storm. I had to say tasteless. She's that beautiful. But then Cameron, and that's it. And we haven't seen her. And I'm like, I want to see Saraya on TV. I know you guys don't really care that much Saraya. The controversy of how her past is, you think when she isn't as great as she used to be, it's not the point. You can have, on one of the biggest stages, a true-to-life story of two women, a Mercedes Moné dealing with a Saraya. A match that had an implication years ago. Remember, again I say this, the last match Saraya had before she had to retire was with Mercedes in a tag match, and she gets kicked in the back and she no longer could function right. Her arms are dead, her legs are dead, and then when they tested her, she was finished with wrestling until the last couple of years she's finally able to come back. There is an automatic story there. No matter if you have to mention WWE, there's a story there that could easily make people care, and there's nothing. Now, Mariah won. Let's make it clear, Mariah won. Did Cameron do well? Well, I'll say Harley did all right. She wasn't a bad wrestler. She needs more perfection. She needs more work, but she is a good wrestler. I do believe if her contract is up, if she doesn't go to TKO WWE, I say go over to TNA or MLW. I say go to TNA. They got so many women there right now. They don't even know what to do with all of them. So TNA is a much more smaller roster. And if they're smart, if she's willing to sign with them, sign her for at least 2 years. Not a year or 6 months or 3 months or just do some tapings. If she's finished with AEW, work with her TNA. Let her get a real contract and stay there for a year or two. And not only that will perfect her work because there's some good people there that could teach her, at least she'll be somewhere else where she can get some chops. Moving on. Brody King versus a Blackwell, a jobber. He didn't stand a chance. He got destroyed by Brody King. Yes, he got a couple of moves in. Brody killed him. But what was more important was what was said after the match. In the back, in an interview where Brody is talking, and he's saying, a House of Black is in a funny place right now. And as he's talking, Adam shows up and he said, look, me and you, we had history, but you know what? I respect you. You should know that. And I told you a while ago, I see potential in the House of Black and everyone there. And also, Buddy, him, and Julia. He said, all of you, I could see it. I know there was something there. I tried to help you, tried to get to join you. But at this point, it's time for someone to take the reins. Now, does that mean they'll finally allow him to run the House of Black? I don't know. I truly do believe he should run it because at this time, he's the only one who can. You could say, what about, not Brody Lee, but what about, do I actually want to see a Buddy Matthews as leader of the House of Black? No. Either I want him to be alone or he works in the House of Black under Brody King. That's the only way it's going to work. That's the way it looks. If he's not going to be off on his own, which he should be off on his own, that boy does have the ability to talk. He's got a great look and he can wrestle. But if they're not going to let him lead Brody King and Julia Hart and stay in the House of Black, he cannot be leader. He just doesn't have it. He doesn't. Doesn't mean he can't talk. Doesn't mean he can't wrestle. Doesn't mean he doesn't have the look. It just doesn't make sense for him to be. Moving on. TNT title match. Shibata versus Garcia. Good match. Didn't like it. But then I'm like, this is his second defense. Did I actually believe Shibata was going to win? No. And the kicker for me is hearing everyone, and I do believe Rick Avani was there along with Tony Schiavone. It sounded like it along with Niles McGuinness. It did sound like Ian Niccavani was there. But it's like them saying, along with Daddy Magic Nick Menard. I'm hearing them say that there's a good chance, well, Nick saying, he said he tried to use his friendship to get the title match, which he's supposed to. If you're friends, you should ask, hey, we're friends, yeah, but I want a shot at that title. Give me a shot to see if I'm your match. That doesn't mean you're trying to trick somebody. But it's like knowing Shibata was not going to win ahead of time. It sucks. You know why? No development for Shibata. There is no development for Shibata, and that's the problem with a lot of Japanese wrestlers that keep showing up there. The only one that had some development was Okada. Bitch. And Okada can talk. Okada does have charisma. Even though he doesn't talk a lot, and even if his English is limited, he does have charisma. But when you look at, not Shibata, you see I'm getting pissed off here. I'm getting Shibata and Takahashi. And you see I'm getting really pissed. Takahashi is not. I think of so many wrestlers. Ime Ishii should have been developed. Irumui should have been, if I'm pronouncing his name, should have been developed. You got a lot of male wrestlers and a lot of female wrestlers who have come through AEW, and Shibata and Okada are the only ones still there doing anything, and Okada gets to shine more than Shibata does. And I'm sorry I got the other names mixed up, and when I get angry, I mess up. I'm dyslexic. What do you want? I get my names and my words mixed up. It happens. It's not like I'm 10, okay? But you get my point, okay? Let's move on to the last match, Dax and Chris Jericho. You guys tell me below. Forget about the ending of the match because I already talked about it when it came to Copeland. Other than I didn't say when Copeland got nailed, got beat up, and then we get the Outrunners coming out. We're getting Death Riders coming out. We get the rest of FTR. You know what I mean. Is it me? Or does Chris Jericho look like he slowed down a lot in the ring? I've never said Chris was fast in the ring. Even when he was younger, he was very athletic. He was very agile. But he wasn't fast. Tell me if he looks like he slowed down a bit. Especially halfway through the match. Once you reach halfway into the match, you look like he got tanked. Now understand, Chris is about my age now. He's about 54. No, Chris, I think, is either 71 or 70. So he's about 54, about to turn 55. Or he's about 53, about to turn 54. So he's around my age. Just slightly old. I think a little bit older than me. By a few months. Does he look like he's slowing down in the ring to you? I'm not saying he can't wrestle still. I'm not saying he doesn't look good in the ring. But halfway through the match, he just looked totally tanked. So badly tanked. It was bad. I don't know. Maybe he's not exercising. Maybe he's been busy. You never know. It could be something going on. Now, I know that, well, not Alex, but JD has said only thing that Chris wants to do is just have as much TV time as much. He's basically a whore for the camera. He doesn't care about anyone else anymore. He only cares about getting his money from Tony and his TV time. That's all that matters to him. I'm not going to say he is or isn't. I'm not. I'm not going to tell you that he's basically screwing over wrestlers and other talent. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say he's trying to hog all the time. I'm not. But let's make this clear. The reason AEW got as much traction it did within the first 2 years, easily, is because of Chris. It is. Let's make it clear. Chris is what made that show. And do I believe that he slowed down a little bit? Yes. I believe he's gotten tanked. Do I believe that his storytelling is not so good? Yeah. Now, could it be because Tony's not giving him direction? Oh, hell yeah, it is a very strong possibility. And I've seen Chris over the years. He does need guidance. He can come up with some great story ideas. But he needs someone to be able to make sure it's perfected. And Tony Khan is not that person. You can say a lot about Vince, and I do know about what's going on with the court and what happened about paying something. I know. The Grant, what is it? All the charges from Grant and the indictment, it's not gone yet. The grand jury is not finished. It's just something else where someone, well, basically, he's getting money back. He didn't lose. But that's still going on. But when you look at Vince, back in the day, he just knew how to take either an idea he already had or an idea you give him and turn it into something. That's just how his mind worked. And Chris needs that. Yes, he had a lot of good storylines, but now at this point, seeing how bad, it's just sad to see that Tony Khan is not listening to people. He doesn't have a team that is getting things done. If he's still booking the show generally and maybe just getting general ideas from people, what is Chris going to do? He's going to do whatever he wants. And does it look bad? His storyline? Yeah. That hat he came out, that black hat looks stupid. But this is what we're getting. Now, was this a bad show? No. isn't leading anywhere. I don't know what's going to happen in Australia when it comes to Final Carnage. I don't know. Or is it Final Carnage or Total Carnage? I don't remember. You see, I should care about this episode of Dynamite. Only thing I remember is called Carnage. And it's in Australia. I'm not feeling it totally because this just doesn't feel like... If you see this objectively, I am not saying that AEW is trash. I've had more people say everything is fine. Everything's great. There's some people saying because of CM Punk being there, that's when it went wrong. No. We've had problems within the first 2 years of AEW. We got reports. They were there. They were very minor reports, but they were showing themselves. It has always been there. It's just not been reported heavily. They were reporting more on WWE before it got into TKO WWE than AEW. But there were reports, and a lot of people say it was a lie, but it's obvious those reports were true. There's no way. Even Big Swole. And I'm like, back then, when it came to Big Swole and the Cedric Alexander, I didn't believe a damn thing she said because she was always a problematic person as it was. But I have to say this, and I'm sure everyone also agrees, she wasn't wrong. She was not wrong. Did she try to take advantage of it? Hell yes, she did. She tried to take advantage of the problems that's going in AEW when she got released and tried to make some stir for herself so she can get into a job. But honestly, they had problems for more than the first 2 years, easily. And if you don't want to admit it or want to accept it, that's on you. But I'm here to tell you the truth. AEW still has problems. Tony Khan is one of the major problems. Instead of handing it over to people he just hired, like Peppermint, I don't even think she's doing anything. But it's just me. Peace.